Hi folks, my name is Darren Ray Fonso, and I'd like to talk to you tonight about workers' comp and the state of Washington. And tonight's topic is going to be a civics lesson about the state initiative and referendum process and how that ties in with workers' comp here in the state of Washington. First thing I want to start off, the reason I feel I have to do this kind of civics type lesson about this state initiative and referendum process is because a lot of injured workers don't know about it, and there's no reason that for them, they don't know about it, just like a lot of the general population doesn't really know about our initiative and referendum process. And that's kind of sad that we have to actually even do a civics lesson on what the initiative and referendum process is. But nonetheless, I feel obligated to do that so that injured workers learn it, and so that the rest of America that doesn't know about the initiative and referendum process and how it works and how it helps us and our civil rights and our voices be heard in a system that no longer wants to hear our voices. How I want to talk about it, first of all, is I'll just say what it is. The initiative and referendum process is the ability for us as citizens to come together and get enough signatures together and gathered to change laws on our own without our lawmakers, and to bypass the legislatures and the courts and everything, and we the people put forth laws that we the people vote on and say we want made. And we've done that with a lot of laws in the past, and it happens all the time. And sometimes initiatives happen and they don't get through, and other times they do. They've done it for single payer in Colorado. I believe it was an initiative and referendum process where they didn't get through, but they kind of had corporate Dems fighting them the whole way, which is kind of sad, because we as Democrats need to stand up and fight for that. I do kind of still tie in with that. Not really. I'm not tied in with any party too much anymore. It's getting to be so I don't know, you got to be an independent, it seems like. But nonetheless, if you want to get the truth told. But the initiative and that referendum process, nonetheless, was the ability for we the people to get our voices heard and get laws made that represent us and not the corporations. And that was the whole purpose behind the initiative and referendum process. Not every state has it, unfortunately. There's only there's a handful that do, and there's not a lot that do. So those that do are very lucky that we still have that tool to be able to fight back against the giants who would wage war with through both political parties. So nonetheless, how I want to say, that's pretty simple. It's simplistic, our initiative and referendum process. So I hope that explained it to folks a little bit and clarify what it is. It's a pretty simple tool that we have to use. And how I say this ties into injured workers and workers' comp and here in the state of Washington is because in 2010, after we had ALEC go state by state and boilerplate these laws that both state Republicans and state Democrats signed off on, that took a lot of our rights away. They did this in state med tort laws and state work comp laws. But mainly during 2010, this happened a lot across the country. You can see this, and the facts are there. The laws were stacked against the injured workers, and this is part of how it was done, is because right here in the state of Washington, we had a state representative back in 2010. Her name is Senator Barbara Bailey. Representative Barbara Bailey. Back then, I say her name was Representative Barbara Bailey. And she has now since then become a senator, Barbara Bailey, a state senator for our state. So, but back in 2010, Representative Barbara Bailey, when we put through our 2010 work comp reform laws, she added an add-on to the work comp bill that went through. She added an add-on to that law, which she claims she doesn't like add-ons and would never put add-ons on, but she put an add-on on to the 2010 Washington State Workers' Comp law that stated that we the people, if we wanted to get an initiative and referendum on this bill that they were putting forth, the legislature, that on this particular bill, you would need to come up with 50,000 or 100,000, or I can't remember how many more signatures she requested or required, but you would have to have an enormous amount of more signatures than you would need for any other bill that is bad that the legislature might pass. Is that really constitutional for my state lawmakers to legislate away our right to the legislative process, or hinder it, or make it even harder for us to utilize it? Is that what the initiative referendum process is there for, is for them to just legislate it away at will? And why does the union stand by as she did this in 2010? They were against it. The Washington State Labor Council and all of them were against it. So why did we not fight it back then? Why didn't we come out and say, this is unconstitutional? We have somebody, totally legislating away we the people's initiative and referendum process to do away with this dirty law before it's even made law. And what is Barbara Bailey's intentions? Was it to help injured workers of the Washington State? No. And the sad part is we had Senator Mark Aurelius, who is a Democrat, who was signing off and telling everybody, yeah, let's join this majority coalition, and let's go ahead and stick it to the workers, because it's going to bring in the good jobs, and they're all going to trickle those good jobs down to us if we have some takeaways from the injured workers of the state of Washington. Now, I'm sorry, this is 2018 now, and we need our lawmakers to speak up. And now I'm not going to go into the detail. I just wanted to kind of show how how the initiative and referendum process, that is something we utilize and we need to use to try and help get it single payer right now. But I want people to be watching, be aware of what was done to the injured workers in 2010, how you can do this and you can use these initiative and referendums, and they can just step in your way and say no. Or take it away another in another session or something. So it's pretty important, and it needs to be addressed. And we need to talk about why Senator Barbara Bailey was legislating and hindering and stacking the deck against injured workers, so that our rights and our ability to get justice for the harm done to us would be addressed. The same problems that right now the United States Department of Labor said are Washington State work comp system and 33 other states are failing injured workers. So when we got our U.S. lawmakers telling us, and the U.S. Department of Labor and 10 U.S. senators, Senator Bernie Sanders and Patty Murray, a Bernie-crat, and the Clintonites, basically, both telling us from the Democrat side that we need federal minimum standards over these broken state work comp systems, and why isn't Barbara Bailey standing up and saying something about that? This needs to be addressed. When our lawmakers are there for the corporations rather than we the people, and then they even want to hinder our roads and our tools and our ability and our swords and civil stingers and swords to be able to fight back with. And women like Barbara Bailey have stacked the deck against us, but yet she still sits in there and collects money and a check, while injured workers are living on the streets and fighting for our rights. Sometimes 9 years, 6 years, 8 years, 12 years. Some people are fighting before they ever get justice on the other side, and many of them don't get justice. They get cost shifted off to the federal rolls, and that is the problem. And that's why the United States federal government is a little upset with the state of Washington and these other states utilizing the state laws to fleece the injured workers out of their rights and then cost shift us off to the federal rolls. This needs to be addressed, and I'm sorry, it needs to be talked about. And this was all I'm going to do for the civics lessons for today, but it is pretty important to see that we have both Republicans, like Senator Barbara Bailey, who worked to stack the deck against us, and then not only did she stack the deck against us, she wanted to make sure that we could never overturn that with our little votes, or we had to do something impossible in order to get it overturned, and have to get more signatures to get it overturned for that bad bill than any other bad bill that the legislators might come up with from both sides. Now, how is that being there for we the people? So you got Senator Markle on the other side of the Democratic aisle saying, yeah, let's support Barbara Bailey and this, and let's go on and let's make this happen in 2010. Here it is 2018, and we got injured workers living on the streets and committing suicides and who knows what else. And yet none of these lawmakers want to stand up and tell us the truth about how our state laws are being used as tools and shields so that this class war can be waged upon us through our freaking health care. Now, I'm sorry, this needs to be addressed. And that's going to be all for my civics lessons tonight about initiative and referendum and how important it is. But it's also important to call out the lawmakers who hinder our access to that process intently, so injured workers will be screwed instead of helped, Barbara Bailey. Thank you. It's the Labor Sheriff signing out from Washington State. Adios.